PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to PACTV Community News. I'm Julie Thompson, and we have our news director, Kim Mio, here with us on set today. Today is Community Media Day, which is part of a week-long celebration of the First Amendment called appropriately Free Speech Week. As we celebrate the value of free speech and expression, we are reminded that without it, we literally would not be here.
Thanks, Julie. And by having a local news show such as this, we are able to give a voice and a platform to the community that may not have another place to do that. So, with that, let's get into the show. Tonight, we bring you an update on the Tidmarsh Wetlands Restoration Project in South Plymouth, and we stop into the launch of Cape Cod Community College's aviation program at Plymouth Airport.
PCN stops into a ribbon cutting for a mural at a Pembroke Elementary School, and we hear about the Duxbury Bay Players' new stage production of Mousetrap.
We visit a barn dance put on by the Jones River Village Historical Society, and we profile a local Plymouth resident who has risen to the top of the Boston comedic scene.
Finally, we visit with NECWA, the New England Coastal Wildlife Alliance that serves the South Shore. It's a full show, and we begin at Plymouth Airport. The first stage of the much-anticipated Aviation Maintenance Technology Program put on by Cape Cod Community College is underway now at Gate 6 of the Plymouth Municipal Airport. We met up with some of the students and instructors in the classroom and the labs to find out how things are moving along and what the program entails.
Wait for landing Mansfield. At Mansfield, Cherokee's on a left base to final for runway 4.
They say that necessity is the mother of invention. Or in the case of Plymouth's airport and others like it around the South Shore, it was a need for certified aviation technicians that opened the door for Cape Cod Community College's latest endeavor.
I met with the CEO at Cape Air, and they were talking about their ongoing need to have qualified mechanics to get into the industry to help take care of their fleet. So as we talked a little bit more about that, we sketched out a pathway to create the program that would ultimately become a FAA certified program and allow our students to graduate completing certification in airframe and power plant, and then ultimately setting for the FAA exam and become licensed aviation mechanics.
The program didn't just happen overnight. It was about 4 years in the works, but now that it's arrived at Gate 6 at Plymouth Municipal Airport, that's where you'll find a classroom full of students that couldn't be happier that it's finally here.
Well, I've just had a fascination with planes running back since I was a little kid, and I went to the college a little over a year ago to see what different types of programs that they offered, and I saw that they had aviation maintenance, and I got really excited to join the program.
The certification course itself takes 12 months, and nearly half of that time will be spent in this classroom, which is tough medicine for some of its students.
We ain't got to the hands-on part yet, so that's probably the part I'm going to like the most. Definitely exciting for the opportunities it's going to present when it's all done.
The students would have had to spend that much time in the classroom regardless, but with 8-hour days, this program is considered a fast track for the licensure.
Basically, we are compressing 1,900 hours of instruction to the students, so they will be hands-on, everything across the board that the FAA requires someone to have the aviation A&P mechanic certificate.
Richard Lyman brings 25 years of military flight experience to the classroom, while one of the other instructors we met with has a few more years on his resume.
My background started in aviation 58 years ago. My certificate is 58 years old. So I bring a complete history of aviation for a very long period of time. And my joy here is to be able to transfer knowledge that it took me years to learn to students who can get it from me in literally weeks.
Of course, it's not all classroom time. When they're ready, the students will have some of the most state-of-the-art equipment available at their disposal. The 2 hangars will serve as labs, whether it's metal fabrication or using these horizontally mounted engine simulators to take apart and put back together. The engine on the far right actually works, so the students can test whether what they've taken apart was put back together correctly. And there are aircraft just like the kind they would come across in the field for them to work on as well, starting with this single-engine Piper Colt, moving on to this Piper Comanche, and eventually this twin-engine Cessna.
We have virtual simulators for welding, we have virtual simulators for painting, so they will actually practice in a virtual reality before we actually send them into our paint booth or we send them into our welding booth. Well, they'll do welding, they'll do painting. So these are all technical skill sets that they're going to get here. Everything is brand new, everything is top of the line, latest equipment that's out there, so they are learning stuff that out in the industry isn't incorporated yet. So we are giving them leading edge technology here at Cape Cod Community College.
It's complete. It truly covers the spectrum of aviation, from engines and propulsion to airframes and why and how airplanes fly, avionics, electricity, the complete range.
Reporting from the Four Seas Aviation Hangar at Gate 6 in Plymouth, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
That was really interesting. And I know you spent a lot of time down at the airport. Talk to me about this.
Well, I went to they hosted a chamber after hours a while back for this program and or for the build of the facility, and it's really impressive down there.
Right.
They have a simulation room where you sit down and just I played with it for a few minutes, but the plane takes off and all of that, and then you have to deal with what if a mechanical issue happened or something like that. What does the engine do? And trying to solve those problems.
Right.
So, and then they have another whole room where you can you could at the chamber thing anyway. You could get in and practice spray painting. They teach you how to spray paint the planes.
Hands-on everything. You said from airframe to avionics to everything, which is terrific. That's just a
And
great
one other
program.
little tidbit.
Yep.
Our very own Tom Bolus has donated one of his planes
to the program. So one of those, I'm not sure which one, but one of those is his plane. So every time we do a story there, he's always tickled pink about it. Thank you, Tom.
So thank you, Tom. Up until recently, the Jones River Village Historical Society didn't have much to offer in terms of nightlife. That all changed over the weekend when they hosted their first ever barn dance. This fundraiser event, which is hopefully the first of many, was a great, well-attended event, and Brian Sullivan went to bring you the story.
We're having a barn dance this evening because I'm trying to get the younger families in. I've been recruiting memberships all year long, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to use the barn, and it's a fall night, so why not come out and have some fun? The Historical Society, I think, is known for programs and lectures. I saw this barn sitting empty, and I said, no, we need to utilize the barn, we need to have some fun, we need to let everyone know that it's not the old folks' Historical Society anymore. It's new. Right now, the age bracket that I would love to see become members is between 30 and 50. With the young families, we have a third grade field trip here in the spring, and we had 150 kids come through. And I was here, and I asked them, have you been here before? Maybe 10 raised their hand. That's sad to me. This is our historical property here in Kingston, and I don't see the young families coming in and taking advantage of it. And I think another thing is, I think a lot of people think that we're owned by the town, and we're the Historical Society, so we come up to the historic property and we have our events. It's not true. We own the property. We need to have events, we need to raise funds to maintain and preserve. There aren't enough fundraising events geared towards the young people. We have our breakfast in the summer, we have a candlelight dinner, we have a spring social, but things like this, they're getting out the younger crowd. They're here, they're enjoying it. They've never been here before. They didn't even realize it existed. My goal is to probably rent this out for small parties, small wedding receptions. The only thing we don't have here is heat, so we're limited as to how long we can use the barn. I have my final event October 22nd, where we have the Mayflower Society from Plymouth coming here with 40 members. They're going to have a box lunch and a tour of the house. I think that's fabulous. I think a lot of people, when they go home, they're going to tell their friends, you're not going to believe where we were last night. You guys should have been there. And that's what I want. I want them to spread the word and let them know this is not their grandfather's Historical Society anymore.
The Duxbury Bay Players Theatre Company has been treating the residents of Duxbury and other South Shore towns to some fine community theater for the past 60 years. To commemorate the 6th century mark, the players will be performing Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap, which was one of the company's first performances. We showed up for one of their rehearsals to find out what goes on in creating a time-enduring community theater.
Any community theater is generally a volunteer organization. I can't tell you what it exactly means to the town of Duxbury. It was begun by Duxbury residents in 1956, and so it was based in Duxbury. And as it moved along, certainly it drew in participants from many of the surrounding towns and even beyond, Braintree, Weymouth, etc. So I hope that the town of Duxbury, as an entity, appreciates the fact that it has a local theater group and that they point to it as one of the assets in the town.
They knew they wanted to do a special production for this fall because of the anniversary. So I had really wanted to direct something that was kind of big. I mean, you know, more than 3 or 4 characters. And I wanted to do something that they'd done a really long time ago, or something from 60 years ago, or approximately that period. And they had done The Mousetrap by Agatha Christie. They produced it the month that I was born, in 1959, November. And so I figured, I mean, when I heard that, it was kind of cool. I want it to be a really good show for the viewer. So I want them to kind of be at the edge of their seat most of the time. So I have to really work hard with the actors to make sure that there's a good fight. Because if it's not a good fight, people kind of sit back and fall asleep.
Going into it, it's just exciting to be just out of college and already doing theater again. I kind of thought there would be a longer break, but it's just kind of nice how close it is. I live in Duxbury, so my commute to the Bay Players takes like 5 minutes, and I get to do something I love to do.
I consider community theater kind of like amateur baseball in a way. Why are there baseball teams? People who want, or hockey, guys, people who want to go out and play a sport, right? They're 30, 40s, or even 50s. Well, theater is the same way. These are people with a creative bone, and they just want to express it. And community theater is a way to express that creative bone. So are community orchestras, where a lot of the musicians don't get paid. The actors don't get paid. They are volunteers. And I guess it's just a way of keeping your expressive bone active, and I think it helps keep you young.
When the 6th graders from Bryantville Elementary move on to the middle school, the tradition has been to leave a memento behind for the incoming class. This year, the students teamed up with a local artist to leave a very creative mural where a boring old bulletin board used to be. We were there for the unveiling.
I have the official scissor ribbon cutting scissors, so this makes it official. And
traditionally, when the 6th grade have their promotion night, they leave a class gift to the rest of the students in the school. So I was asked by Dr. Glod if we could possibly do a piece of artwork to hang in place of this bulletin board that was previously here. And I agreed to it, but I didn't want to do it just by myself. I wanted to incorporate the kids so that they were leaving a part of them, you know, behind for the school. So it was dedicated by the class of 2016. Originally, we had 22 kids sign up. Due to scheduling and activities in the summer, we ended up with 18 in total that contributed to the mural. So it was a good amount of kids. Some could only come once, some came several times, depending on when they were available. We wanted to incorporate Pembroke in kind of their known spots, you know, that they enjoyed in the town, but also have a little bit of school influence too, and that's where, you know, we put in the picture of the school and the school bus, but we brought in rulers, say, for the roof of the Dairy Twist, and we used pencils as borders and different things like that. We put the core words of the school on the fish at the herring run. I really enjoy working with kids. I do teach kids lessons also, but this was more of a group project, so it's fun to see, you know, some kids shine doing different aspects of it. Other kids want nothing to do with that part of it. So it was fun to see them kind of create and kind of do things that they maybe didn't think they could do, and then they come out feeling pretty good about themselves.
1, 2, 3.
The owners of Tidmarsh Farm and Mass Audubon invited the public for a walking tour of the Cranberry Bogs turned nature preserve. The weather wasn't great, but that didn't stop the better than anticipated crowd from showing up to check out the incredible views of nature on this 600-acre property.
In December of 2015, PCN visited the Tidmarsh Farm as it was in the early stages of its official transition from Cranberry Bogs to Nature Preserve. Now, less than a year later, the property owners have teamed up with Mass Audubon to host a walk that's open to the public. And the weather was pretty similar to the first day we arrived there.
Because of the inclement weather, organizers of the event may have even lowered their expectations as to what the turnout size would be, but they were pleasantly surprised when over 60 people showed up, and that allowed them to have 3 full groups for their walking tours, the 20-minute, 40-minute, and 60-minute tour through the property.
For Mass Audubon, the location here in Plymouth is significant for a number of reasons.
Number one, it's in the town of Plymouth, and Mass Audubon is a Massachusetts-based organization. Contrary to what many people think, we're not a chapter of National Audubon. We're the first Audubon organization in the world. And we use the land base that we have across the state as important habitat and as a place for people to connect with nature. So every acre sort of serves double duty. Plymouth is a place, the greater Plymouth area is a place that we're really not currently on the ground yet. So we're really, really excited about it for that perspective.
By having these public group tours, it serves the #1 goal for Mass Audubon, which is education.
Our goal is really to get people out into nature, to help them learn about nature, and then appreciate and then also care about what happens in the world. And we do that through school programs, adult programs, walks like what's going on today, so that people can really, start to learn what's out here, the opportunities for education, and just how special it is.
While having the nature sanctuary of this size in Plymouth is a great concept, the reality is the purchase of the land still hasn't been completed.
This is a very, very exciting opportunity, probably the most exciting opportunity that I've been involved with in my 16 years with Mass Audubon. We need to raise $3.6 million. We need people's help. If they can help us directly, great. If they know someone else who could help us, that would be appreciated as well.
And while that may sound like a large sum of money, for 600 acres of land, the overall asking price is well below market value. So if everything goes according to plan and the sale is eventually finalized, we would likely see more events like the one here today, only in nicer weather, hopefully.
If Mass Audubon does open a nature center here, a wildlife sanctuary, then we'll have walks for kids, working in the public schools, working with the teachers and the science coordinator in the Plymouth schools. Plymouth has a big commitment to science and already, and we're looking for ways that we can supplement that we can coordinate with them to really enhance what's going on in the classrooms already.
On the nature trails in South Plymouth, I'm Brian Sullivan for PCN.
Another wonderful story about this group. We've covered this 4 or 5 times over the last year about the whole progression of this.
Yep, and we're going to keep doing a couple more stories, I believe, segments on its development, because they have a nursery there with native plants. So they're really trying to bring back the native plants in the area, which is really important. And they're going to have a public part where people can walk and hike. It's absolutely beautiful down there, and it's just coming along. And their partners are incredible on this program. All the way from Mass Audubon, obviously, but it's going to be a natural preserve. And it's really wonderful to have in our town.
Another plus for Plymouth.
NECWA, or the New England Coastal Wildlife Alliance out of Middleborough, serves the southeastern Massachusetts coast with marine rescue, conservation, and research. This all-volunteer nonprofit prides itself on its esteemed internship program and educational outreach efforts, with a focus on whale, diamondback terrapin, ocean sunfish, and basking shark species. PCN met up with its founder as well as its interns to learn more about their programs and passion for their work.
Marine wildlife are part of the ecosystem. They're part of the biodiversity, the rich biodiversity in this area. And as we know, healthy ecosystems, healthy planets have a large number of different types of species or organisms. And the more organisms, or the higher your biodiversity, the healthier the planet, not just for them, but also for us. The research that we conduct on many different types of marine wildlife is used to better understand and protect the animals, but it also is used to help the general public better connect with the marine wildlife in their own backyard. So we incorporate a lot of the information into our educational outreach programs for kids and adults of all ages. We have internships and we have programs in different areas of the marine field.
My passion for marine biology, I have always loved whales. I fell in love when I was 2. I watched, actually it was Free Willy with my grandfather, and I watched it like literally every day. And now that I'm actually in the field and doing different things, I don't imagine myself anywhere else. Like, I can't go anywhere else. This is where I want to be. And working with the humpback whales, I can't think of anything better.
My mother was a marine biologist. I spent most of my summers on the Cape when I grew up. Ocean's always been a part of me. It's a part of my life. It's been a passion of mine since I was very small. I used to ask my mom questions like, oh, what is this? What does this do? Like, why is this here? And it just kind of followed me as I grew up, and it's something I've never gotten tired of. I am currently doing terrapin research. So diamondback terrapins, they live in marshes. They're a brackish water turtle, which is very odd for around here. It's the only species we have. Not much is known about them. So what I'm doing is I'm going out to 2 specific marshes, one in Wareham and one in Marion, and I am looking for turtle nests. And I'll look for eggshells, egg fragments, and then I find the hole where they either hatched or something came and dug up the eggs. And we count how many egg fragments we found. We mark that down. We mark down GPS coordinates, what time we found it at, what the date is, and then we collect the egg samples and we bring them back. We're just trying to get a rough estimate of where they are and how many roughly there are, and see if their populations are doing well or if they seem to be declining over time.
And I'm working on a humpback whale database that's going to be mostly information in NECWA photos and stuff we use from the data that we get on the whale watch boats right into this database. Using a lot of our photos to do photo ID with. Later on, we do go back, look at our data and analyze it for photo ID, which is basically going in and trying to figure out which individuals you see when you're out on the water.
NECWA has given me a lot of opportunities I would not normally have. It has given me experience out in the field. It's given me boat experience. It's given me identification experience. I got to work with whales. I'd never been on a whale watch boat before I worked here. I'm sure because I put that I had an internship with NECWA on my resume that I have gotten a lot of the jobs that I have gotten.
Ever wonder if your career calling has come and gone? PCN met up with a local resident who headlined at Boston Comics' Come Home event last year with comedians like Dennis Leary, Jimmy Fallon, Ray Romano, and Louis C.K., to name a few. You might think this person would be a young male comedian working his way up, but it's actually a middle-aged housewife from Plymouth, and this is her life story.
I was always pretty funny but quiet, pretty shy. But always funny, always looked at things a little differently than everybody. Grew up with Carol Burnett and Lucy, I Love Lucy, and thought those women were just amazing. I had a high school sweetheart, my high school sweetheart, Jimmy Hurley. I went to Cardinal Spellman High School. He went to Archbishop Williams. We met each other through mutual friends.
I would say it was love at first sight. She was cute, attractive, bubbly. That's what I remembered. Her energy was through the roof. And actually, I didn't think she would ever date me.
So we have 5 children now, Colleen, Elizabeth, Ryan, Joseph, and Brendan. And when they were babies, Jimmy, my husband Jimmy, works 3 different jobs. He's a firefighter. He's a chief on the Randolph Fire Department. And he painted houses, and he was an Army reservist, so he was busy, gone all the time.
That was hard. It was hard, too. It was those weren't easy days. There was absolutely no money. We were both working a lot.
So the comedy really kind of crept back into my life with every day things that went on at home with the kids, and I'd think, why am I here alone? People have to see this and hear this. This cannot be. You know, real life is funnier than any fiction you could make up.
I would say humor is a natural, like an innate ability or an innate sense, and she has it.
My husband was watching television one night, and Nick at Night was on, and they were advertising. They were going to do a TV show, America's Funniest Mom.
Finally, a switch came on in my head. I said, Christine should be doing this.
So we drove to New York. I auditioned.
There's a huge line, all women waiting to audition. Everyone's got like 2 or 3 minutes, very short sets.
It was my very first time on stage. We had to do 3 minutes of stand-up comedy to audition, and I had never done it in my life. We wrote a couple things down on a cocktail napkin, and I just went up and told the story.
When she did her audition, it went great. And because she was an amateur, that's what the producers liked about her. She wasn't scripted. It was off the cuff. And one guy, actually one of the producers kept saying, "Where do you work?" to her. And she said, "I don't really work. I'm home with 5 children. That's my work." He said, "No, where do you work your comedy? What clubs up in Boston?" And she said, "I don't. I've never done it." And he said, "Yeah, you do. I'll make a few calls. I'll find out where you work." And you know, and then the other guy nudged him. He said, "She's telling you the truth." And he said, "How do you know?" And he said, this was pretty good. He said, because the girl in front of her was tall, and she never readjusted the microphone. She spoke up into it. She like lifted her head up.
I knew as soon as the light went on, the spotlight went on, I said, this is it. This is it for me. This is what I was meant to do. I couldn't have been more thrilled. It was just, it was like such a great discovery in my life. And I ended up getting picked for the show, and it came in, I ended up coming in first runner-up. I got like $30,000 in a washer and a dryer. And
we thought, oh no, you know, the phone's gonna ring off the hook and you're gonna get, you know, job. Nothing happened. And somebody told her that in New York, that you might have a tough time now because you started up here. Like you started literally a comedy career at the top, meaning TV, and then now you're gonna have to go down. But she needed to go back down because she didn't know the bones of the business.
So it took a couple years to, you know, build up a reputation, and I had to get out there and do some really crappy shows and kind of start from scratch, do the open mics and different things like that.
We kind of just believe that if you're doing what you love, things will fall into place.
You don't know what's around the corner. You just have to wake up every day and kind of accept what's going to happen to you. But you do have to make your own. You do have to create your own destiny. You know, I was 41 years old when I started, and I love every minute of it. So here we are, 10, 11 years later, and I'm the most booked comic in New England.
So I'm proud of her for being able to do what she does. But I'm also amazed at how she keeps it. She keeps up her spirit. She keeps up the energy.
Laughter is so important. Laughter is health. Laughter is really, I think, is a cure-all. I think everybody has their gift, and you know what your gift is. You know what you want to do and what you can do, and it's never too late. And I have the best life in the world. I'm the luckiest person on the planet. It's just a great life, and I love every minute of it, and it's my life.
I can't wait to have her on PCN Life. Yeah. She is just such a trip. She's so funny.
I loved doing that story, and her and Jimmy, they're such a great couple, and I'm so excited. So she's going to be on next week. Yep. And it's called That's My Life.
Right.
So it's
She's
a
treat. And thank you for watching this week's show. Visit PACTV.org for replay information and for our on-demand and streaming channel, PACTV Prime.
Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please join us next week for more PCN and a new episode of PCN Life that will feature comedian Christine Hurley and the premiere of her segment called That's My Life. Have a great week.